All right, guys, it's 10 Ounce Fight Club, and we are back.
Yes, we are. We are back.
We took quite a fucking break there.
Yeah.
We're going to have to bleep that out because I'm
Yeah.
in the first minute still. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, life calls sometimes, and I got to take care of some things, but sounds like we're ready to rock and roll.
Yep, and it's good to be back, man. There's been we've missed some fights. There's been some huge announcements, a lot of movement in the UFC.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm really excited about July. I know we're talking about potentially going to Salt Lake with that new announcement.
Yep.
But let's break down some of these big fights in July and really get in depth here.
Yeah.
I know we got International Fight Week too. July is a 2 pay-per-view month, so there's a lot going on. I know one of the fights that stands out right now, especially with Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya and everything that's going on in the middleweight division. This is a huge fight with a lot at stake. We got Robert Whittaker versus DDP in Las Vegas International Fight Week. Before we get real in depth about these guys and break down their stats and what these guys bring to the table, kind of tell me what you think about this fight.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. I think with Izzy being champ again, kind of fall back in that lack of challenger thing. So they really want to get like someone defiant in there against him, and so this is like the perfect fight to make, because I think that I'm not saying he's going to win, but what Whittaker has done in this division, I mean, he's still on the pound for pound rank list, take that as you will, but yeah, like he's right there, and I think that if he wins this fight, he could get a shot back at Adesanya. And then I also think with Dricus, he's made his way. He's continued his undefeated run in the UFC, put away some tough opponents, and fought a couple of tough guys. But this is going to be a real good test for him. See where he's at, and Whittaker is no joke though. I think I'm going to take Whittaker in this fight.
I also got the Reaper winning this fight. And I do think that if Robert can beat DDP, he will earn that title shot. There's not a whole lot you can say if he can derail the run the DDP is on, although he's, it's a 5-fight win streak, but he's undefeated in the UFC right now. And, he does have he's got some good names on his resume. He's got some scalps on there. Yep. So, and it'll be fun to get some new blood in there if DDP does manage to pull it off. But, like I said, I'm with you. I got the Reaper on this one. And, like I was saying there, he is on a 5-fight win streak, undefeated in the UFC. He's beaten Marcus Perez, Trevin Giles, Brad Tavares, Darren Till, and Derek Brunson. Yep. And let's see. He finished,
I think, most
4 out of 5 of those fights.
Yeah, most of those fights.
Yeah, the only person who took the decision was Brad Tavares, and Brad Tavares is a tough son of a bitch.
Yep, he's very tough.
So let's look at DDP here. He is decently tall. He's 6'1", 185 pounds. He's got a 76-inch reach. He is a switch hitter. He does not really lean one way or the other.
Stances, yep.
Yeah. Let's look at his stats, though. His significant strikes landed per minute are 6.72 with a striking accuracy of 55%. His striking defense is 53%. His takedown average is almost 3 at 2.8, and his takedown accuracy of 47%. So, I mean, we go over to the Reaper here. You got Robert Whittaker. Jesus Christ, Robert Whittaker is a veteran.
Yeah.
Only 6 feet tall. He's got 3-inch. He's given up 3 inches in reach. Less strikes landed per minute, but a lot more experience in the UFC.
Yeah. Whittaker in this fight, I think comparing him to Duplessis, like Whittaker's going to be like the disciplined kind of fighter and discipline his technique, where Duplessis and he uses this style to win, and it's effective for him, is he just kind of like gets into like a brawl, and it's very dirty. And I think like Whittaker will actually be able to, kind of keep Duplessis at his pace and stuff like that, just with his stance, how he moves around and gets in and out on his strikes. I think it's probably going to, help keep Duplessis back and stuff like that.
I agree. I don't think there's any substitute for experience. And I think Robert Whittaker is, like you said, he's a more disciplined fighter. He does a better job of controlling the pace and controlling the rhythm, where, like you said, DDP just kind of gets in there and gets a little sloppy with it. Yeah. Even like that sequence where he had Darren Till pinned up against the cage, it was like a weird, sloppy kind of, I mean, it was effective 100%, but you know what I mean? It just had like a weird feel to it, where Robert Whittaker, you see, he can fight in a sloppy brawl fight like you've seen with Yoel Romero and things like that, but he also fights very clean.
Yeah.
like he has since he lost the title to the champion. You know, he's really cleaned up his fighting style.
Yeah, I mean, and he hasn't been, you know, I think the two people to finish Whittaker were Adesanya and also Stephen Thompson, but that was when Whittaker was at welterweight.
Yeah, welterweight. I think no one's finished him at middleweight outside of Adesanya.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Whittaker's super tough, and you know he's super smart too. He's definitely like kind of like you said, in that mindset, like take less damage. You know, so.
And how do you see this fight ending?
I think it's only going to be 3 rounds, which kind of stinks because I think Whittaker is going to thrive more in that 4 or 5 round area. But I don't know. I still think Whittaker. I think he's going to be super smart. He's going to know how to keep Du Plessis away from him, and he's going to perfect his timing so that he's coming in to land big, and Du Plessis doesn't have anything to throw back.
So you're taking it by decision then?
I think decision. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, if Whittaker gets a wounded opponent in front of him, he goes after him. But yeah, it's usually recently I've seen Whittaker get a lot of decision wins, but you're still winning. So
yeah, I'd really like to see Robert go out there and make a statement, especially knowing that another title fight's on the line against the champion Israel Adesanya. I mean, a third trilogy has put him up there with Max Holloway being the only other person I've seen fight someone in the UFC where they're down 0-2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'd be huge if Robert Whittaker can pull it off. But I'm gonna take Robert Whittaker by knockout in this one. I think he knocks him out in 3, early in 3.
There you go.
But as far as that goes, I mean, how do you feel about the trilogy? If that's what we get, if we do get Robert Whittaker as the winner here.
I mean, I think for the hardcore fans, they wouldn't mind seeing it. But there's a lot of people, and I've kind of felt the same way too. At times is like, do we really need to see it? They've already had a good shot at each other and stuff like that. But I'd want to see it.
Do you think they could headline it? Do you think they could use it as a headliner? Or do you think it'd get stuck on a co-main?
Yeah, no, it'd probably be a co-main on like a John Jones card or something like that.
Interesting. What would that world be like? Can you imagine?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they still don't like each other.
I'd love to see that press conference.
Oh yeah,
that'd be interesting.
That's the Izzy fan inside of me. Just like gets so excited when I hear about like him like going to like fight John Jones. That was like the fight. Remember, like before Izzy lost to Jan, that was a fight that everyone was hyped about. And it was at the time where John didn't say he was going to go to heavyweight.
Yeah, he hadn't really fallen off yet, so it was still in the realm of possibility.
So yeah, it could have happened at 205, and dude, that was like kind of one that slipped through. Hopefully not like, hopefully Jones and Ngannou doesn't slip through like that fight did, but yeah.
So if we do get Israel and Alex we still could get Alex a third time after that, but Israel and Robert Whittaker a third time, who do you take in that fight, and kind of give me your implications for what could happen should either man, prevail?
I really think Izzy, and I got a good prediction that Izzy needed that kind of interaction with Porier and stuff like that to be like to get his mojo back and be willing to like contender Izzy.
He had to remind everyone.
Yeah, so I think that this is Izzy in that mindset where he just put out Alex cold, and he's like, I'm gonna show these guys that I can put these dudes away, because for years like that's why everyone made fun of Adesanya, like he's takes him to decision, boring and stuff like that. And I think that Adesanya now has realized that he can start putting dudes away.
Yeah.
And, and he's going to have like such an advantage. He just needs to go for it a little bit, or like, yeah.
Yeah. So, people think he's skinny. He is not a small guy.
Oh yeah. And he hits extremely hard too.
Yeah.
And his timing, helps in that too. But yeah, no, I think, as much as I love Whittaker, I think that it would probably go back to Adesanya. Still.
I would take Adesanya to win should they fight a third time. I think Israel gets it done. And I think either way it goes, you see Israel go up to light heavyweight, because even if Robert Whittaker were to win, with the history, it's hard to sell for.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah, no, if that happens, I think, maybe Izzy fights like one more person, because it sounds like they're trying to get, Hamzat to him, but they're also trying to get that Aliskerov guy. He's fighting Paulo Costa.
I know. He's getting.
Yeah.
He's on the fast train. He's on the bullet train.
Yeah, and so like the UFC's, they're showing signs that they're trying to get some contenders for Izzy to have him lined up. But, Izzy, he knows what he wants to do. Sounds like he wants to go to light heavyweight soon, make that return and do that stuff. But, yeah.
Well, in the realm of possibilities, we'll have to come back and see what happens in the future.
Yeah.
Until then, we have a couple more fights to talk about here in July. We've got another rematch, if you will, in Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Moreno for the flyweight championship in the UFC. Give me your take on that.
So glad that we don't have to see Moreno and Figgy again,
Well, they were as tied as you could get with a win apiece and a draw in 3. 4 was for all the marbles.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think that this is gonna be a super interesting matchup. So, Pantoja actually has a win over Moreno.
Yes, sir.
And then didn't he beat him in tough as well?
I think he did. He beat him in the tough house. And you've got them where Pantoja's got the 2 wins. Moreno's actually the bigger fighter. And he's had the more successful career in the UFC, you could definitely argue. So kind of, what do you think? Do you think this is one of those situations where, it's so odd where Moreno's down 0-2, but he's the champion?
Yeah. It's the matchmaking's a little wonky, but this fight definitely need to happen. And I think after the Figgy fights, I think Moreno's walking around with a little bit more mojo to go through those wars and get those wins. But it's a tough one that Moreno's in. You have like the guy that gave you the most problems coming, take that belt. So.
Well, we do know that Brandon Moreno is not afraid to win, to fight the same man again. He does well in rematches, or at least he's, what is he?
Yeah. So he's up to.
He's got the 2 wins and the draw, and 1 loss to Figgy. And believe it or not, the 1 loss was a split decision.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
Against someone that we thought was going to be unstoppable in the flyweight division when he first, did win the title.
Yeah. And in this fight, Moreno's star power is definitely, showing, and it's going to show, big numbers. It sounds like for those ticket prices for that International Fight Week. So both those, both 2 fighters, the 2 Mexican fighters, bring in a lot of attention and stuff like that. But, with Pantoja, people don't really know about him and stuff like that. But he's, super dangerous. We've said that he's the dark horse of the division.
Oh, no, he's a killer.
And now I think Brandon Royval might be the new dark horse that, people have to look out for. But,
speaking of flyweight contenders that are fantastic, we got to look back at Brandon Moreno did beat Kai Kara France in between those Figueiredo fights. Yeah. And he did beat him by TKO with that liver kick.
Yeah, that was a nasty liver kick.
So I do like that in Moreno's favor, that he hasn't just fought the same guy 4 times in between. He did get that Kai Kara France big stakes where Kai was on a roll and did get that huge fight and a big win. Because he got hit. He got beat up in that fight. You could argue he was down in the rounds before he got that TKO.
Yeah, definitely. Moreno's a great fighter, dude. I really love him and his story. He was, how many fans he's, drawn to the sport and stuff like that. He's a great guy. He's funny. Collects all those Legos and stuff like that. You cannot hate Brandon Moreno.
Brandon Moreno's like a man-child moved from Mexico to our beautiful Las Vegas, so he will be fighting at home during International Fight Week. It'll definitely be a home game for Brandon Moreno, and I do think he'll win that fight, and I do think he'll put a stamp on it.
Yeah, I think Moreno, like I said, he has his mojo going for him, and I think that he's going to walk in this fight like he walked into the Kai Kara France fight, where he was like, this guy, everyone's saying he's going to beat me because stats or whatever, and he puts a stamp on it. So
yeah, how do you got him winning?
I think Moreno could do a surprise finish for us.
I'm taking Moreno by submission.
By submission? Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool, beating Pantoja at his own game. Yeah, that would be a good one.
All right. Well, we're talking about International Fight Week. We're talking about great Mexican fighters.
Yep.
We've talked about a great Australian fighter, but there's still one more. What do you think about Alexander Volkanovski, the featherweight champion, fighting the interim featherweight champion, coming off of a huge win, Yair Rodriguez, International Fight Week in July? What do you got?
This is a great fight. And, I think a lot of people are like super, hyped and, hyped for like Volkanovski to make his return. And, he's always like a safe bet because, like look at, who he's faced and, defeating them. But he's got to be careful in this one, I think, dude. Yair's a bad dude. And, I was like saying that going into his fight with Josh Emmett. Like, this guy's nasty, like everywhere. The kicks I like from Yair and just his style. Kind of a traditional. Is his discipline Taekwondo or karate?
He's all over the place with his training, but he does have some Taekwondo in there. He has a great wrestling coach, and he is very, very disciplined with his wrestling and jiu-jitsu, his grappling overall. But he's very unorthodox, really, in everything that he does. When you look at it, those crazy elbows that he throws, the jabs from the hip, the kicks that he throws from anywhere, the knees. I mean, he does whatever he can to take your head off.
Yeah, and that's why it's so interesting because it feels like, Volkanovski hasn't fought someone as unorthodox as this. Usually people have been very disciplined in, like, boxing styles and stuff like that. And, I think this is probably the first – well, Max does, keep his hands, low sometimes. But I think this is, like, the first, fighter he's going to, face that has, like, this crazy style, unorthodox style. And, throwing, jabs from the hip and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one. But Volk – man, everyone's, we can sit here and say everything we want, but like he keeps on proving people wrong and stuff like that. But, we've been believing Volk for a while, man. Like he really showed us, he's the real deal for sure. So,
no, the champion is definitely the champion for a reason, and he has got a great resume. He's on one hell of a featherweight run. He was unsuccessful in his lightweight double champ attempt. A lot of people did think that he won that fight. Mm-hmm. I honestly had Islam up in that fight 4-1, but the big thing for me was I thought the rounds were close enough. They were in Australia. Yeah, I thought Volkanovski was going to get the decision. Yeah, and I did think he won that fight, that fifth round, dominantly. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
It was, but. We're not here to talk about that one. He's still the featherweight champion. He has to defend his throne because Yair Rodriguez did capture that interim gold on the same night.
Yep.
And Yair Rodriguez, like I said, he throws everything with cruel intentions. He really is trying to take your head off. Mm-hmm. El Pantera is a fantastic nickname for him because he fights you like an angry cat. No matter where you go, he's always trying to hit you, always trying to hurt you. But like we said, the great is the great for a reason, and we've been believers. I've been fortunate enough to see Alexander Volkanovski fight in the octagon twice live in person, and you were right there with me.
Yeah.
And, I am a true believer that Max Holloway is a future Hall of Famer and one of the best to ever do it.
Without a doubt.
And the way Volkanovski was able to put a stamp on it that third time, he just got the looks that he needed from Max in that third fight. I do think Yair Rodriguez is a dangerous opponent. I do think he has the tools to finish this fight, but I think Volkanovski has the control and the athleticism and the mind to control that fight and keep Yair from getting Volk into those dangerous positions. I got Alexander Volkanovski by decision in this one. I think he'll be smart. I think he might get criticized in this one. I think he'll either do like he did with Max, or I think he'll find a way to play this one safe and kind of stay away from those crazy moves that Yair's going to try to throw at him and just, hurt him with big shots and kind of keep him at bay for 5 rounds.
Gotcha. Yeah. That take on, Volkanovski is, I think that my probably pick is, if I'm going to go with Volk, he's probably going to go to decision in this fight. I don't really see him, finishing the opponent, but I'm gonna stick it with Yair. I think
you're gonna go Yair on.
I think I'm gonna go Yair, and I'm gonna go by. He's gonna get a submission.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, Volk did show that he can be caught. In that Brian Ortega fight, he did get caught twice, and I think if Ortega hadn't been as beaten up as he was at risk of getting caught a third time.
Yeah.
So I do see where you're going with that, and maybe you're right, and maybe we get a little craziness in the featherweight division. Who knows what happens there?
Yeah, we'll find that one out for sure.
I mean, what do you think, though? If Yair Rodriguez wins that featherweight gold, do you think Volk wants that run back, or do you think he goes and fights Islam?
I think it just depends on. I think it sounds like he wants that, like, to really put a stamp on his legacy. So I think maybe going up,
It's tough, right? Because there's only so much time. Which fight do you take?
Yeah, I think going up, I think it's going to be bigger. Volkanovski in the lightweight division, there's a lot of names I would love to see him, face. And yeah, I think, there's some like kind of super fights to be made up there. And, that might sound good to him. Might have to fight once a year, but he gets paid to,
just have to
fight
go where the money is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that the money fight would be Islam Makhachev. I think even if Yair it's crazy as this sounds, because Volkanovski is a competitor, and it'd be so hard for him to walk away from something like that. But I think you're right. If Yair can put a stamp on it and get a win, I think the UFC can find a way to convince Volkanovski to go up top to 155 and just kind of, get some big matchups in right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if Yair wants to avoid a rematch, he'll have to like put, like you said, a big stamp, like a knockout, and it has to be pretty nasty or something like that.
Yeah, something big enough that they can convince Alex that he's better off at 55 fighting those bigger guys. Speaking of 55, I know there's a huge matchup this week that was announced for the vacant BMF title in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Dustin Porier versus Justin Gaethje 2 in a rematch of the FS1 bloodbath.
That was a crazy fight. That was a barn burner for sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. One of just a straight slugfest. And that was when Gaethje was, a lot of people would argue, fighting unintelligently, but he just threw a lot more caution to the wind back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where now he's a lot more calculated in his approach. At least that's the way that it shows in his performance.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, both these guys, that first fight, like we said, was a slugfest. Like, both these guys are not afraid to, get into like a war with someone. These guys are super tough, and that's why this matchup is like great, because you have the two toughest guys in the division, the two most dangerous guys in the division going at it. And
both guys throw a mean hook.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And great leg kicks. Justin Gaethje has the advantage in the leg kicks, in my opinion. I'd say maybe a slight advantage in the power. I don't know, though. When Dustin Poirier connects, he connects.
Yeah, and Gaethje does a really good job, too, is like preventing his leg kicks from getting checked, too, I've noticed.
He doesn't. He throws his kicks like he doesn't care if his leg breaks.
He'll just like, I don't care about the check. Yeah. Let me just blast through that real quick. Yeah, no. But yeah, Porier does have a nasty leg kick as well too. But yeah, dude, I'm so excited for this fight. And I mean, potentially where it's in the works, we might attend. So even better. I missed out on going to Salt Lake, when they first came back.
The shot heard around the world.
Yeah, I missed that one, but I don't think I can't miss this one.
Plus, this is your last opportunity to see El Kukui on that card, and the whole card is fantastic. If you're a hardcore fan, I mean that lineup is amazing, all the way down to the prelims. But let's stay focused here. I mean, I definitely think. I think this one goes almost as far as it did last time. I think we get into those championship rounds. I'd love to see it go all the way, but I don't think either man will let it happen.
Yeah, no, I think there could be a finish on either side in the fourth or fifth round.
Yeah. I think they'll fill each other out, nice and early in the first, and then someone's going to throw that first hard shot, and then it's on. Yeah. Both these guys are dogs. You look at the performances they're coming off of and the guys that they fought. That fight that Dustin Poirier had with Chandler, Dustin was almost out in the first round there.
Yeah.
And then you look at even Fiziev. Fiziev started stronger against Gaethje in their fight, where there's a little iffy scoring in that fight, but I did have Justin Gaethje winning that fight against Fiziev.
Yeah, no, I think I like that, take, because I do think both fighters kind of start at a different pace. And I think in round one, I think I could see maybe going for Dustin. Yeah. I think round maybe 1 and 2. And then after that, I could see Gaethje pouring it on after being patient over the time. But, Poirier, both guys are dangerous at, any time in the fight too. But, I think it could go probably round 1, round 2 for Dustin. And then maybe Dustin gets another round in the fourth.
Yeah.
Or, or a finish, we're kind of,
I don't know. I think it's going to start slow, and then, kind of like in sparring, when you're sparring with somebody and you're doing light sparring, and then somebody throws that first hard shot, and then you got to get it, they got to get it back, or you got to get it back, whichever way, and then you're just going back and forth, and that's kind of how both these guys are, in my opinion. Even when you look at their performances, they really are those dogs that enjoy the fight, and they enjoy seeing how far they can go with their opponents.
Yeah, I love Poirier because he gets super into it, and he'll start talking to his opponent and stuff like that. And he has like so many like badass moments, like him with Holloway.
Yep.
And like, they got, they face each other in the center of the mat, or like him talking to Dan after like, Hooker's, like just out on the floor pretty much. And then like chirping with Chandler, because like Chandler had some little dirty tactics here.
Yeah, he had the blood in the face.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was so bad.
Yeah, and Dustin remembered every little foul and checked them on it. But
Even that Oliveira fight before, outside of that first round, at least that first round was all action.
yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah, I think one of my favorite mythical fighters too is adjusting the shorts Dustin Poirier, because he always like hikes up the shorts and then he'll like
it's his signature move, bro.
Yeah, he hits the hair, he checks the hair real quick, and then lifts up the shorts, and then he just like knocks the dude out. Yeah, it's funny, but yeah, no, I'm super excited for this fight, bro. It's gonna be violent fight because both guys are like super like that. But yeah, dude, I'd love to go and see it in person. That'd be great.
Oh, what's happening?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, other than that, is there any like other big fights coming up? I know that one.
We do have, we have the announcement for the Bantamweight Championship. Quick turnaround for Aljamain Sterling coming off that win over Cejudo. And I had Aljamain Sterling winning that fight 4-1, by the way, over Cejudo. When I watched it the first time, I had it 3-2, but I watched it again, and the only round I could dominantly give to Henry was round 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that was there was a lot of weird scoring in that one too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think Aljamain won that fight. It was a good showing from Cejudo. He had some, good moments in the fight, but yeah, Aljamain just looks, like I said, people like to shit on him. They like to doubt him a lot, but Aljamain's the real deal, and he's a great champ.
Yeah, and he's here to stay. I think him versus O'Malley is going to be a huge fight.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for it, and we'll break that one down another night, though.
Yeah.
Hope you guys are as excited as we are for those fights in July. Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje 2.
Yeah.
BMF title, International Fight Week. Right before that, UFC 290, Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez, and Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja. Great fights coming up this summer. Catch them this summer, and catch us next time.
Yes, have a good one, guys.